and welcome back to the podcast you cheer for. So material. I'm your man, the OGEO,
All right, it's T Mark the Street Shark. We're
and
here.
we're going to do what we usually do every other quarter or so. We're going to a State of the Union, and there's a buzz going on in the world about Nike's stock. What is going on? Drops. You have stakeholders who are alarmed, and we're going to dive right into it. So, Shark, let's go into the State of the Union, what's going on in the sneaker community with Nike and how they plan on bouncing back and so forth.
All right. Yeah, we're just continuing the conversation that we had. That's what we like to do at Soul Material Podcast. We give you that clarity over popularity and that sneaker business talk. So let's get into the business and let's see what's going on because this is it's summer 2024. And then, we're looking at those financials, looking at everything that's getting ready to come out for back to school, holiday season. You're seeing teaser of what's happening in the spring. So if you know what's coming, that means the companies know what their bottom line is, and they know where they're counting those coins on where they're trying to get their money and recoup. And the sneaker game is continuing to evolve. Where are the people at? What happened to all the hype beasts that just bought up everything? Because stuff isn't getting bought up like it used to. So much so that we're learning that Nike, we've got a couple, stockholders and your stock price is going down a little bit. So their stock fell 20% recently, and then now they're looking forward to the first quarter of the new fiscal year and going into 2025 and saying they're anticipating even more of a 10% decline in some of these sales. So I thought if we just produce more, then everyone would buy it. I thought if we just release more Kobe's, then everyone would just buy everything up. Well, what happened? So that's the rhetorical question that we're asking today. We do not have the answer, but we're posing the factors that led to this and maybe a couple potential solutions to turn the corner. Because so it's interesting to see where this conversation is going, but. Let's talk to the OG real quick. What are you thinking about over there when you hear that Nike is down about 20% and trending down a little bit?
With
What's going on?
Shark, not to say that we didn't tell you so, but go back to our season 2, our season 3. We talked about everything from optics to where the hobby was going. We told you guys this a couple of years ago. This was coming, and now we're here. And it's interesting now because you would think the climate will change according to what we saw during the pandemic and so forth, and it's not. So we talk about the world right now. First of all, let's talk about the inflation. Let's talk about I'm in New York right now, and $30 would get me probably milk, eggs, bacon, toilet paper, and toilet tissue. and I have a household of three and a half. And that's where we are, first of all. So the motivation to buy is not there. And also, as we talked about previously in the episode in the season about reselling, it's not what it was pre-pandemic or during the pandemic. So now you're seeing, as we say, who's real and who's fake. So now that you got to hustle a little bit harder, you got to show out there in the streets who you really about. All the nickel and dime hustlers are they just vanished. So when that happens, like Shark just said, more being produced, and you're now fighting the same climate or the same population that you had before, which is now shrinking, which you're now seeing that's going on with Nike stock. On top of what's going on now with other brands, they're still winning. You talk about Asics, New Balance. I mean, we can go on and on in which just what heads are rocking are more comfortable shoes, which is a part of what Martin and I talked about before with the Crocs episode, as far as now people are really looking at comfortability as opposed to just being uncomfortable and just sporting something because the life and the world has just changed. And even people like myself and Martin, the Shark himself, have really adapted. So even when we look at our acquisitions recently and so forth, are we really going for the hype beast stuff that's hype, or what we actually like and what's comfortable? Or are we really passing on some things now? Because what Shark and I talked about previously before we started recording was Shark and I are now part of a generation that we're now seeing, including the original, the third, fourth, even fifth retro of the same shoe. So are we really motivated to go out and buy a Deion Sanders we had maybe 3 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago, or one that we have that's maybe 5 years old, we wore maybe a handful of times, that's still in good shape? It's a whole lot of factors involved, but the motivation to buy has definitely changed. And Nike's strategy has not been great because they have not been innovative or creative in new designs, and other brands are really starting to just bounce that out. And that's what I think, Shark. On top of a whole bunch of other factors, there's a bunch of layers here as we talked about. That's just a few I wanted to just mention because it's not that people just stop being sneakerheads and Nike's now just failing. No, there's a whole lot involved in this, Shark.
Yeah, and those callback references are to our previous episodes are spot on, and I'll just add to that and just talk about some of that supply chain and the retail relationships, well, on the dynamic of or the evolution of what's even available in a store now. Think about all those mergers with different stores and how more cookie cutter retailers are out there now, even more, and because they saw your spending habits, so now they kind of generalized their operation thinking that that was the future. Well, see, this is what happens when non-sneaker people are in charge,
Mm,
because the business people trying to milk a population. And now it's not that the population is saying no, it's I just feel like it's diminishing returns because you didn't the businesses weren't in tune with what people really wanted, and what people really wanted they weren't really saying as well. So we told you when we started this podcast about how much power you have as a consumer to dictate these surges in prices. I mean, look how many different iterations of StockX has changed over the last 4 years
mm,
just because of this. All right, who I don't who's making a living off of selling sneakers anymore? You know what I'm saying? If you thought you were doing it and you made it commercialized, it's few and far between. It's everyone it is not eating. All right. All right.
mm.
For those that you don't understand what I'm talking about, plugs and connects.
There
Go
you
back
go.
to that. Plugs and connects. We broke it all the way down. Or who's really connected and who's just the middleman and all of that in between. So just think about that too. And one thing I also, you brought up all the other brands. We talked a lot about, go to our collaborations, and boutiques, episodes. So some of those, and they're not even mom and pop. So just because of the internet now, what I mean, about all these things, just because of social media, sneaker blogs and things in between. So you have relationships with different boutique style stores throughout the country, and they're partnering. But see, here's the deal: there are not a lot of Nike partnerships.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So now the value of that artist collaboration, we've gotten regurgitated out with Adidas, but they just keep going. You know what I'm saying? And so they're gonna keep finding somebody that they like. Beyonce, Ivy Park come in and out. You know what I'm saying? Because they rode a wave, and then the wave went away, and they go to our Yeezy episodes. That was self inflicted, but they did what they did. And then now was they flooding Yeezys back and putting them on 50% off? They're not really stopping, but then those aren't selling like they were 3 years ago. So just thinking about those relationships that they have with the retailers is a mirror image. I'm not going to say mirror, but it's a correlation
mm,
between their relationship with the actual direct to consumers. Because think about all the promising that they're making about Nike having more direct to consumer. So is this the pullback to get ready for some longer trajectory that we've talked about some of their future goals, but we're not hearing the details on the strategy of the execution to be able to see that in the line of sight of where this is going. But I think that, this is why they pour all this money into team sports. And it's weird how, look at the bag that they threw at Caitlin Clark. We talked about
mm,
signature athletes. That's a whole nother and if you're struggling like this and the WNBA got all this buzz, y'all didn't want to speed up the process on the Asia Wilson shoe. You wasn't going to have Caitlin Clark, the shoe ready. You know what I mean? So they did so much buzz for nobody to have a new signature shoe this year. Now we
mm.
get the new Sabrinas from Nike. All right. That's just the second one. All right. Who's left, Nike?
Mm.
you ain't got one. You know what I mean? But we, Stewie with Puma, you know what I'm saying? Like, it got a couple of editions of that shoe in apparel collection. So yeah, let's, Pumas, they have their niche and it's working for them. But, the signature athletes, they didn't on the men's side. They didn't. We had Ja Morant. We talked about how Ja Morant was replacing Kyrie Irving. All right. But did he? Did he? Who's that niche for the kids as well? Because that's part of what we're unlocking here. Who's cool right now at Adidas? Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man. Who do the kids like? I see them on the kids too. I see them on the kids. You know who else I see on the kids? Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the king of kids. Right now, I don't care. Somebody want to show me some numbers to argue, but I'm just going to bet dollars to donuts that the kids footwear. Steph Curry, Under Armour, Curry brand. They've been doing their thing for a while. You know what I mean? So, other than LeBron, but again, you oversaturated and you come out with, we talked about this before, you stop coming out with 25 colors. Maybe you'll sell more and then make the athlete wear the shoes that are in the stores. That's also part of the influence that's not happening. They're not wearing the shoes that are on the store in the stores. No more signature moments in the shoes because they're wearing too many PEs. Too many now.
Facts.
So what are we doing? So I think Nike lost touch on the younger generation, Gen Z, who's philanthropic. They want to see causes. They want to see you do stuff in the community. Hey, we hear about stuff. Change the game for good. You're sitting there doing philanthropic missions, refurbishing basketball courts. I know Nike does similar things, but you're not talking about it, man. You know what I mean? Anthony Edwards, he's doing some of his Adidas stuff in his hometown with his Boys and Girls Club, those type of things with his foundation. So when you're thinking about these things, who are the Nike signature athletes that are doing those things? Okay, and let's move LeBron out the way. I get it, the I promise and everything like that. Who's next?
Mhm.
You fumbled Devin Booker with the rollout of his shoe. It was a good shoe, very good shoe. But where's the consistent turnover? And then we look at Jordan Brand and those athletes and those signature shoes. What are we doing? We got Jason Tatum. You won the championship. Now what? We just get another shoe. The JT3 is already previewed on the cover of the new 2K because he's a 2K athlete with who? Asia Wilson. I don't see the future Asia Wilson shoe or PE on the cover. What are y'all doing? You know what I mean? Like, give us something to tease. You know what I mean? Even if it's just a markup, and you can doctor it up on there. So I think we're just they're steady losing their pulse because they're just looking at numbers. This to me feels like what, and I'll pass it to you because I'm gonna drop the mic when I say this.
Definitely.
The sneaker game feels like what analytics did to basketball. Go.
Wow. That's how you feel? Talk about me in that 3-pointer. Once they had Pop convert, I'm like, the league is done. I was like, but we had that conversation later. Of course, I'm about to quote something I shouldn't quote just to keep it PG around here. But what's interesting to me, Sharp, is the amount of information that's been confirmed, not only with Jordan Brand, but with Nike for fall, holiday, and even spring of 2025. And I'm looking at everything and I'm saying this is the same wheel that we saw 7 to 8 to 9 years ago. And the temperature has changed. The climate has changed. Jordan Brand bringing out the Columbia 11s again, bringing back blah, 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 blah. It's like, I get it. But like you said, Gen Z, Gen X even, everything has kind of changed. And I'm just like, what are we doing? So we're talking about the Air Max 95 Neons now being retro, and that's being confirmed. I still have my 2022s, I believe. Like, so as you said earlier, just dropping more stuff, that's not necessarily going to increase I'll say the confidence of your stakeholders who are now a little bit baffled about this drop that has gone on and what's projected, you know, for the first quarter. And one thing that we talked about before, and you really nailed on the head before, is what stories are being told. You just mentioned about the athletes, but where's the story? And what kills me is that Nike reminds me of a very prestigious record company that refuses to go back to the vault and kind of see what they did that kind of worked. So I know the times were different, but give me the Kobe and the LeBron puppet commercial again somehow. Like you mentioned this, Shark. I'm still from you because we talked about this in private, but you got potential for something to go on in certain cities with certain athletes that you have signed that you can kind of not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but you could do things similar to show this new generation about telling the story in advertising and so forth. And all these drops, Martin, it's cool, but they're sitting. We had a discussion before we recorded. I told you I went to Foot Locker this past Saturday, and I saw literally the last 5 Jordan retro releases on display.
There you
Military
go.
fours, red and white 12s. I saw what else did I see? The nines, the Carolina nines. And I'm just like, I just asked about size runs, and the manager looked at me like, yeah, we got full size runs of all of that. Like, I'm like, okay, so what are we doing here? Because I'm not motivated to buy. He's like, you want to try on something? I'm like, dude, I had those 10 years ago, I had those 5 years. I still got those. I'm like, I wasn't motivated to spend 210 plus New York City tax
Yeah. See.
out the store. I just wasn't. So, again, man, just OG old head talking. But I'm just intrigued to see what's going to happen. Holiday.
Ooh. So let me say this, because we did predict this. What did we say is the future? And now it's part of the future. Is now we're here. Did we do this last season? I think it was last season. Yes.
Yep.
We said that the future was omnichannel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And somehow you're still not doing it. That's how you touch Gen Z, is you got to have the full 360 experience all the way through the social media, through the vine of all the networks of the people that you're collaborating with. So you got to create your own eclipse, which means you got to have like 2 or 3 or arsenal of people. You know what I mean? Look at these other brands leveraging the social media collaborations with celebrities, even if it's just a picture and you're in it, or they're modeling something. That's how the Crocs jumped off, with Salehi Bembury, but he's putting some celebrities, actors, just in the photo shoots. Because then that's your power driving. But think about every campaign for Salehi and Crocs and New Balance are all different people every time. And they're all different men and women in different genres, because he's finding the savvy, sneakerhead, trendy person in their lane and then go pull them, because that's what this is. It's a bunch of us in a bunch of places. These businesses talk to us like we're all one in one place. You know what I mean? So if they have the right partnerships, that's what you're doing. And that's what Nike is. They need to close that gap, because we talked about what's the plan after LeBron, like after KD, who's the next wave of signature, even Jordan Brand. We look at Luka. The Mavericks made it to the finals, but if anybody paying attention, there was a Luka 2, all right, and he previewed the Luka 3s at one point in time during the end of the season and at the beginning of the playoffs. But once you got to those later rounds and it was crunch time, and he had those signature moments, he was wearing the Luka 1. Why? Why? You every time you get to a bigger stage, and then you're on the finals, and then like every game in the finals, you was wearing the 1s, and you were wearing a colorway that was not in the stores.
There you go.
And you're not gonna get it. So why did we do that? And is anyone paying attention that if it was more comfortable and that's a higher performance shoe for him, then why didn't you make the other ones better? You know what I mean? Or why isn't his player version playable? You know what I mean? Regardless of what it is. So, like, those are the things that just rub me the wrong way when when you're there to sell shoes, and you have a signature shoe and then don't wear it. Remember how people bash LeBron, especially in Miami days, for not wearing like the 11s,
Uh-huh.
because he kept going back to the 10s and they were kind of flat because it got away from the Air Max and then went to like foam posit, low profile, like real quick, and people bashed him for that. But I don't hear that happening no more. You know what I mean? So I get it. And I'm talking about the players on the court. The John Morant, you got hurt, you couldn't play. We didn't see you. LaMelo Ball, you got hurt again. We didn't see you. You didn't make the All-Star team this year. So those type of things we're looking for. So just for the sake of time, just talking about those collaborations. Just wanted to tell a quick story from the shark. I love good show and tell, so can't let you go. Let our audience go without showing you something. So talked about some collaborations. Sometimes is the buying experience what pushes people away,
Mhm.
or this microwave society where I didn't get it, on to the next one. All right, even if it's stalled and they said they're going to re-release again, you won't even try. So I'm talking about the Union LA collaboration with Nike, where they've brought back the 1982 Field Generals. I like that shoe. Shout out to my bro. My brother was a football player back in the 90s. So all those older, this is an 80 shoe, but all those older models, I was always looking at him and them, some of his friends on the field, and those always translated back to me for those type of models. So again, this is why we like it, because shoe boxes matter. All right, it looks like a gym locker. All right, Union. All right, so this is the Field General. All right, this shut down this release shut down the Union site for a second because you got to add the cart, but you could not check out. And this was one of those where it was charging people and people were mad, and then you couldn't check out, but you got charged. All right, but then they shut everything down. They said, "Up, come back tomorrow. We'll do it at another time." So when I came back the next day, I was like, "Oh man, I had a meeting. I missed the drop date. The drop time. Let me go look." And then I looked, and it's full size run. And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I even wait to like the nighttime, end of the day, and I was just like, "Nah, this can't be." I thought everyone wanted. Why is everyone online complaining so much, and these aren't sold out? I don't get it. And I wear size 12. Size is gonna sell out quickly. So clearly I got them. You know what I'm saying? But I was scratching my head as to, did people quit and just move on because they had a bad experience the first time and didn't try again, or what were you there for to begin with, or do we have a bunch of trolls who like to comment and never even tried to begin with? They just ghosting in the sneaker culture. All of the above. Okay, so Union again. Sneaker boxes matter. We got the Union tissue paper here. Get your little unbox action before we go. All right, just look at the details on this, please. Why everyone's missing out? The culture that doesn't appreciate this is missing out on a lot. All right, so you got your hang tag, keychain over there. You know what I mean? Almost looks like the soul material, floaty. You know what I mean? That you catch on our. You got some links on our social media pages, so you can get some accessories from Soul Material. But yeah, so we got the brown. I got the brown, tan, collaborating, got a little pink 3M action there going on. Got the Union on the inside, and then yes, that classic waffly turf football shoe. You know what I mean? This is the low profile because they had the high top one. So I just, and then you got your exposed tongue right there, right? So this quality. Oh yeah, let me show you the second one for the second shoe, because I even like how they even set up the presentation. Like, not a lot of shoes even give you your extra laces all lined up just like that right there on the tongue. You know what I mean? So just appreciating the details of the presentation, right? Well, and then the last thing I point out, you'll see the Nike sign here on the heel, but on the left shoe, there's the Union. Okay. Union. All right. This is a lot of detail. I even read an article about Union, and they said that this was their favorite collaboration out of all of them. I know the Jordan 4 was probably the most popular collaborations that they had. But like the Cortez one, I like those, but those been on sale and flop, So a couple of these, they're not translating, to the additional ones. And pretty soon, if they produce more Travis Scotts, I feel like the only reason that they keep spacing them out is because they know that they're going to turn into Yeezy vibes, where people are just going to stop. You know what I mean? Because you're already getting some dunks and some blazers that look like Travis Scott's. So Nike knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So in Travis Scott, you got like 2 new silhouettes coming out. So to your point, OG, as we wrap up, why are they pouring the new stuff into Travis Scott like that? You know what I mean? Why you can't do the standalone? I know. So here's the deal: LeBron has a training shoe coming out. Word on the street. They have some other training shoes that are coming, but they're not really, like you said, the technology and the boom. It's really not turning the corner. And some of these other companies are taking some chances and making some strategic partnerships with these athletes. Maybe you're too big for your britches. Nike, you're not heavy in the NIL game either. But the other brands are. The other brands got athletes at your Nike schools on their NIL deals.
Yep.
So is the head too big for their britches? For where they're at in the marketplace and what the reality is, and then how to turn that corner. Might want holler at Soul Material. Put us on the consultant team. We'll help you out. We'll help you talk to those consumers. Final thoughts from the OG on this State of the Union of where we at in the game. Who's
I
buying
just
what?
like to know who's in charge, like who's really doing it at Nike. And with the news that was revealed publicly, um, what's the panic on campus and what are they going to do about it? Because the already predicted drop in the first quarter, which is a few months away, lets us know um, what's going on with the trends and out there in the world as far as what we, the people, the ones with the power, are actually looking at Nike now and how we're going about things. So I would be intrigued to see in our next State of the Union um, if the motivation of stockholders has increased or decreased, and what strategies outside of just releasing a whole bunch of shoes that are staples, popular classics, that Nike are going to do the next 6 months, because I think the panic button has now been pushed, and we'll see what happens because they did not squash the competition the way that they usually do.
There you go. There you go. So, all right, we can put a pin in it, and just as usual, appreciate the audience tuning in. Check out Soul Material on our Instagram and YouTube page, and thanks for listening on your favorite podcast platform. And we always give you that sneaker business talk and that clarity over popularity. All right. Conversation is never over. So till next time. It's your boy T-Mart the Street Shark.
And your man, the OGEO. Until next time, peace to you. Enjoy your summer.
Sneaker business talk. It's the Soul Material Podcast.